Springtime has ever so slightly cracked open the door to the outdoor season, and we are live from the Jack M. Toms Alumni Invitational. It's time for the home opener for the Lynchburg Hornets track and field team, and we're welcoming you in for 2 days of fun. The men's open 5K. We didn't waste any breaths before we got into this one. Obviously a rainy Friday night here in the Hill City. Temperatures a little bit warmer than expected in the 60s. It's going to dwindle down considerably as we get set for tomorrow's slate. Primarily distance races tonight, followed by the sprint side tomorrow. And the outdoor season really in its second full weekend of the regular season. And we are excited for a large pack on your screen to get this meet started. The men's open 5K facility record here at Jack M. Toms track 14:18 set in 2021, and a very large crew to get this one underway. My name is Evan Gates. Welcome to the Jack Toms Invitational here on LHSN and Flo College. Going to be a fun night, and a lot of these distance races obviously going to benefit a little bit more than sprinters from the rain and cooler temperatures. I don't necessarily know that this is the preferred weather of choice, but it does still feel like it is bearable for so many of these athletes who are coming out and getting their races done early in the weekend. So much to talk about that has transpired in the last month and a half, from the indoor season now outside around the full oval, and 11 laps to go. Let's go ahead and start introducing you to the entire field. Thomas Fulcher, running unattached, is leading this one to kick things off. Bassett High School class of 2027 and his junior season, someone who could really go out and lead this field start to finish. We'll see if he keeps that considerable gap as everyone else is in the chase pack you see on your screen right now. There is a man ahead of it. We will see how that one ends up rifling out. But the rest of the start list in a heat that features 33 athletes goes like this. Cole Doms from Kutztown, Andrew Hathaway from Longwood, Sammy Eastwood from East Coast Elite, Christian Reed and Alec Daniel from Longwood, Weston Fry from Kutztown, Matthew Miller, Dylan Tyberg, and Brendan Nave from Virginia Tech Running Club, with Javier Roldan and Bryce Christian from Longwood, Everett Simon from Mary Washington, Jordan Dillevue from Longwood, Ryan Christman, Caden Emily, James Short, and Jonathan Gorlock from Virginia Tech Running Club, Robert Stetkovich from Mary Washington, Luke Thomas, Noah Richardson Love, Samuel Harvey, Aiden Routson, Jackson Sherrard, Josh Dugan, Alex Morris, and John Moy from Virginia Tech Running Club, with Jackson McGrath and Caleb Klein, Edward Karoma and Mason Williams from Randolph, Caden Nitch from Longwood, and Trent Nichols from Mary Washington. Yes, you heard it correctly. 33 athletes to kick this one off. And the 5K, a little bit easier to manage when you have 33 athletes. Obviously, think about the starting line. Trying to get everybody on the line can be a little tricky, but everyone was off and running in our first event of the evening. We'll keep you updated throughout the evening, but let's go ahead and paint a picture as to what you're going to see tonight. So it's a very nice blend of open races and the invite sections. Invitational sections are a little bit quicker. It's the top seeds in the meet, so you're going to expect sometimes they could flirt with some of those facility records, program records for respective teams. But it's the 1500s coming up. And as you see, the men's open section right now, you will not see a women's open 5K. It's all consolidated into one section on the women's side that will happen a little bit later in the evening. So 1500s, 5Ks, and 10Ks, the three track events you're going to see tonight. Everything else, the speedier stuff, will be on your screen tomorrow, which it looks like the weather's going to be a little bit more clear, but also some cooler temperatures. And that will make things interesting. Early in this race, we will keep our eyes peeled on some of the leaders. But as of now, Thomas Fulcher still holding on to a lead. Now it's just by a second. After the first lap and a half, it was by 5 seconds. So Matthew Miller, Virginia Tech Running Club, starting to close in. Thomas Fulcher, as we said, Bassett High School product in his junior season, finished 6th at the VHSL 3A State Championships. And that was for the 2 miles, so you really recognize a lot of that distance and the proficiency. Obviously, the 5K can be strategic. You see several athletes up front, but this one has quickly separated as well from front to back. And you can understand with 33 athletes, lots of different agendas. And Thomas Fulcher has held on to his with a lot of confidence in the first few laps. Going to have 8 to go as they approach the line just north of 540. Obviously, getting back on the outdoor oval, a little bit of an adjustment as well for a 5K, because now your splits aren't at the finish line. They're at the other side of the track. You have the extra 200 meters and then the full 12 laps for 3.1 miles. Right now, 8 athletes are in the mix, and you think about PRs, that can really help. See Fulcher perhaps paying the price for that quick start, still on the inner rail. We're going to see how many athletes join him throughout the rest of this race. Over 20 schools represented at the Jack Toms Invitational this year. Lynchburg so fortunate to bring these home events back. They have 4 scheduled home meets on the docket, adding an extra one this year as Director of Track and Field Mario Wilson in his first season split the Hill City Twilight meet. Perhaps you're familiar with that one based on the fact that there were 2 sub-4 milers last year for Lynchburg, Sam Laneza and Tor Ho-Tung Davidson. That was in the Hill City Twilight, but also an opportunity for multis athletes this year. So you're going to see several athletes who are trying to get those final qualifying marks in the heptathlon and the decathlon. They'll have that chance to do so right here in Lynchburg, and an opportunity that hopefully no one spoils. I feel like at that time of the year as well, you know what you're capable of doing, and those events special as Lynchburg has experienced. Michael Leach, who was top 5 in the nation in the indoor season. Focusing heavily on Lynchburg during this meet and a lot of what happened in the indoor season, but you have to show some of the respect to the teams coming out in droves for this meet. Virginia Tech Running Club in particular, high representation from Blacksburg. They hosted their own meet last weekend to kick off the outdoor season, and they are here with several candidates to get this one underway. You'll see several umbrellas out in the crowd, lots of rain jackets, but the athletes on the oval right now not having any problem. Tell you what, you won't need to have to fill up that steeple pit anymore for tomorrow. Making its debut for the season, of course, exclusively an outdoor event. Give credit to Thomas Fulcher, where it looked like he had started to decelerate. He's actually stayed right there in the lead, entering the final 6 laps, 8:18 on the clock. Cole Doms from Kutztown right by his side. Weston Fry, his teammate, sits in 3rd. Cole Doms came into this one as the high seed, 15:38 personal best for the Summerdale, New Jersey native. Didn't finish the 5K at the PSAC Indoor Championships, so looking to post a stellar time to start this season. His PR is from late January, and for a lot of these athletes early in the season, you don't have the benefit of capitalizing off that endurance from the cross-country season. Lots of athletes will try to extend into November and December as much as possible all of that endurance that they built early in the year. That's not really the case after an indoor season where a lot of these athletes are going down in distance, changing things up. So now a pack of 4 emerges up front. 2 of the Golden Bears from Kutztown and Cole Doms, as we anticipated, right there in the mix. As you heard from Daniel Cutright, our PA announcer here at the facility, so thankful for all the talent that he brings year after year, 934 through that 3K. And it is raining cats and dogs in our first event of the evening. Several stories for a lot of distance athletes. Think about the moving weather conditions. We'll see if this plays any role in slowing down the pace. Obviously, you've committed. You've gotten through 3 kilometers of this race. This is really the time to start kicking it into drive. 10:14 through 2 miles. It is just sensational to see some of the perseverance early in the outdoor season. You think about getting to run indoors for a few months, you get rid of the conditions in those meets. That is certainly not the case now. Pace was right around 16 minutes even. We'll see if this one starts to dip down inside the final mile. Lap to go, and this is going to be intriguing. Don't you feel like it's anybody's race? Given the conditions and given the fact that no one has really broken their stride, it was Fulcher in the black singlet who led this one to start. You see him slowing down a little bit. So the two Kutztown teammates going at it up front, Fry and Doms. You got to feel like they are committed to the pace now. And for an open section that split very quickly, still intriguing to see. We have ourselves an exciting race. Splits being yelled on the other side of the track inside the final 4 laps. You think about so much progression at this stage of a meet, and this stage of a season. Never guaranteed to go out and post that big of a PR to get things started. Weston Fry has to certainly feel confident. The freshman sitting right there with his teammate Cole Doms, a pair of underclassmen with 3 laps to go. This one getting very intriguing now. Sammy Eastwood from East Coast Elite right there in front. The Kutztown teammates who led this one for several laps now starting to fall behind, and Sammy Eastwood understood as he was just about tenths of a second ahead entering these final laps, has put a considerable lead on the rest of the field. Eastwood a 16:14 cross country mark. Mentioned already, have a high schooler in this race, and Thomas Fulcher, the Bassett High School product. Sammy Eastwood representing East Coast Elite, also from Rockbridge County. So 2 high schoolers have really set the narrative. This is the time of the race for them to shine. Pair of high schoolers in the front, and they are quickly approaching the finish. 800 meters to go. They're going to be at 13:18 crossing the line. Strong way to start this meet, and don't put anything past these individuals up front. We've seen lots of movement, and now also catching those trail runners. They've done so the last few laps, all about maneuvering. The conditions haven't slowed things down as we enter these final 800 meters. Eastwood still starting to surge. Obviously, in the high school climate, it's getting quicker and quicker every single year. And you know there is competition closer here in this Virginia state and regional races. What an impressive performance that these two have put forth. And we're going to see if they can hold on. Eastwood right now leading Fulcher, and they're entering the final 500. Do we have a few more theatrics in store? Eastwood really made a move and committed early. We're going to see if he has enough in the tank as Fulcher is starting to approach. 400 to go. The bell sounds. Just a little bit left. Looks like Fulcher is starting to slow down a little bit, or perhaps Sammy Eastwood just took off. Several of these PRs were set in the high 15 range. They have a chance to really post some stellar times to open the season. Between 5 and 10 meters is that lead for Eastwood. 200 left. Made a dominant move just outside 3 laps to go. Hasn't left the leash yet. Here comes Fulcher. Might come down to a photo finish. Just one straightaway, a look over the shoulder for Eastwood. Not sure he's going to hold off the storm this time. Thomas Fulcher into the lead. Started the race with a commanding lead. He's going to end it by just footsteps. An impressive result to kick off the day. Thomas Fulcher goes 15:35. Sammy Eastwood was just seconds behind. The pair of Kutztown teammates able to sail through the storm as well into third and fourth. The two high school teammates on your screen, or rather, two high school rivals ahead of the two Kutztown teammates putting on a stellar performance. That was something that you really felt was gutsy from Fulcher to go out the way he did. He set the pace, let it go for a moment, and in the final 100 meters, able to gain the lead right back. Never guaranteed a strategic finish like that, and I don't even know if you can say it was strategic as much as it was just having the heart to go and gain that lead in the final seconds. All your results throughout the day online at Blue Ridge Timing. Of course, thankful for their services as always, and as we continue to move through this home slate of the regular season, that will be the same blueprint to expect here at the University of Lynchburg. The track name matches the meet name, Jack M. Toms Invitational, right here in the Hill City on this Friday night. An exclusive slate of distance events to kick things off. We're going to head over to the 1500 momentarily, and it's exciting to see a 1500 because we haven't seen one since last outdoor season. Have the mile and all of those numbers. Well, sometimes a lot of athletes can go out and put a stellar PR together in the first 1500 of the year. See some of the final finishers making their way through. Mentioned Virginia Tech Running Club has a lot of representation in this race, and you're starting to see it by the number of maroon and orange jerseys. Finishers coming through now, 16 have made it through the finish line. Thomas Fulcher running unattached, a 15:40 seed time, goes a few seconds under to gain the lead. "17 Hokies in the 33-man field here in this open 5K. Schedule, as we said, will transition to the 1500 momentarily. That women's 15 invite set for 6:20. Men's 1500 invite set for 6:35. Going to be quick races, and obviously lots of rain. Footsteps aren't really going to be the driest, but you got to feel like this is a race that will come down to those first 100 meters. Everyone asks, you know, what is different between the distances of the mile and the 1500? Because obviously it is just over 100 meters more if you run that mile, but it's also starting on a straightaway. Unlike many of those other distance races where you have to use the curve and the waterfall line, the 1500, you can ultimately control your destiny in those first 100 meters. We'll keep our eyes peeled and our cameras on here at Jack M. Toms Track. You are watching Jack M. Toms Invitational on LHSN and Flow College. Getting ready for the women's 1,500-meter invite. Welcome to Jack M. Toms Track on this Friday night. If you're watching from home, stay inside. It is rainy and getting colder by the minute here in the Hill City. Perfect conditions for the home opener right in. This is always the condition that you have to deal with early in the season as we really enter that spring weather. Let's go ahead and take a look at this women's 1,500 heat, and this is going to be an intriguing one led by Sophie Farley of Longwood, a 4:27 PR. We saw her win several events here at Jack M. Toms Track last year. Won it with a 4:35 1,500, and the program's first Big South All-Conference selection has put together something stellar in the last few years. Just to put into perspective her talent at the 800 level, she owns all of the top 5 800 performances in Lancer history. You can see she is often running on the inside in the Navy singlet, and that is where she intends to stay for the remainder of this race. But several other athletes that could be in the mix. Kate Loescher for Liberty has a 5-minute mile mark, 2-time 6A state champ at Colonial Forge High School, also competing at the New Balance Cross Country Championships back during those days. So she's going to have the opportunity to move forward, as you see right away. Farley not wasting any time. This women's 1,500. Jensen Kraft of Kutztown is in there with Laura Ham of Rio Grande, Samantha Bolin of Longwood, Anna Fletcher of Liberty, Violet Wall of Concord, Sydney O'Hara Wood of Longwood, with Winter Tejan and Delaney Salisbury for the Lynchburg Hornets, Priscilla Keller for Longwood, Maria Reed for Virginia Tech Running Club through at 53, and this is an impressive start. We'll put you right around 4:26 pace. Mentioned that last year it was 4:35 for Farley. She is still running very quickly. Think about those program record marks, and she has owned several of them. A chance to go and rewrite the record book again. Finished third at the conference championships in the 1,500 as well. And so when you think about what Farley has put together throughout her tenure, it has really been impressive just to see in the early years of her collegiate career where it's taking her. So Farley surging ahead. Comfortable gap between first and second, and then even second and third. Samantha Bolin, her Lancers teammate, running strongly in second. You see so many of these names and the returners for these programs who come back to this meet, and the progression is something special as the years go on. Lancers sit first and second. For the moment, Laura Ham of Rio Grande sitting in third, 4:50 1,500 PR. She was 16th at the NAIA Indoor Championships in the women's mile as well. Won 3 events at the conference championship. So the level of success that so many of these athletes have seen is pretty special. Farley through 700 at 2:08, so with 2 laps to go, trying to track down a time inside 4:30. Right now, it is Farley and everyone else on that back straightaway, entering with 600 to go. To run a race like this, where the conditions are already tricky, is very impressive when you run it solo. Going to be a strong battle for second. 4 athletes will be in that chase pack, and Farley looking to go against the clock. Talked to her last year after several of her wins, and she said, you know what, it's really been an exciting time. Think about early in your career to see that level of success. The bell rings at 3:26, 400 meters left, and the race for second starting to heat up. Laura Ham right now by inches at 3:31, 5 seconds behind the leader. Mentioned her stellar performance, the River States Indoor Championships, won the 800, the 1K, and the mile. It was one of those days you don't forget. Sophie Farley has had several of those in her Lancers career, and she's only speeding up on that back straightaway. The stride hasn't looked to break a bit as we enter the final curve and straight. 4:04 on the clock. This has to be a great feeling. And now going against the clock, we will see if it's inside of 4:30. That's going to be a very tricky mark now as she is behind that pace. Rain's starting to come down a little bit heavier, and Farley holding on to the pace now on this 100 meters. Won the event with 4:35 last year, and trying to weather the conditions. She'll do so in 4:40 fashion this year. Laura Ham soars into second. And we'll look at that last lap. It's Violet Wall of Concord. Moved up a few positions and able to get a podium spot. Sophie Farley really had a slower middle lap than anything else. Accelerated by 4 seconds from that third lap to the final one. Safe to say, even for early in the season, that's the confidence that you want. For Farley, as we said, a long program record holder in the 5K. 16:48 is the mark. And the 1500 of 4:27. So every time she PRs, she's getting closer and closer to adding some historic performances for the Lancers. Difficult to see on your screen unless you look down at the track, but you can see the number of raindrops. It is a furious few clouds above us. Can't say a storm as we don't have any lightning in the area. It's been a nice day, at least from that standpoint, to avoid that. But rain has waited until the evening to come down in cats and dogs. Let's go down to the second section momentarily. Miriam Al-Zubi for West Virginia Wesleyan will be the top seed of 4:56 PR. That was from last weekend's meet in Pennsylvania. She was 12th at the conference cross-country championships as well. We'll see if she can hold on wearing hip number 1, as this one is a smaller section than the advertisement to kick things off. Kirsten Morley for Longwood, and there with Deandra Young from Kutztown, another return performer. Kira Lojavene with Anna Schaefer for Shippensburg. Maya Baker, Charlotte Bunting, Georgie Lanham, and Alana Palmaioli for the Hornets. Strong home contingent. And this heat has stayed close through the first 200 meters. .57 seconds through the first 300. Kira LaJovene for Shippensburg, the freshman with her teammate Anna Schaefer. When you see teammates working together like that, you figure it's part of the coaching plan. The question is, can it stay intact as you enter the latter laps of a race like this? It is a quicker pace than any other race you'll see today, but still certainly strategic. When you get back into the outdoor season, it looks a lot different than the postseason for any division, because the postseason features a lot of races where everybody's tight. It's one pack. No one wants to make the move until the end of the race. When you're going for time in qualifiers like this, you start to see it stretch out a little bit quicker. Certainly the case for the pair of Shippensburg athletes up front. LaJovene and Schaefer, 1-2. Still holding on. This one a busier pack compared to the last one. Sophie Farley took off early. Might have a little bit more of a race on our hands. Shippensburg perennially competing here at this Jack Toms Invitational. Great to see so many schools from up in Pennsylvania and that northern area. Kutztown also in the same conversation as LeJouvene goes through in 219 through 700. The women's invite 1500, followed up by the men's race. Mentioned that there will only be one women's 5K section. There was no open section. It'll happen a little bit later on. And wow, shooting out of a cannon on that far side is Kirsten Morley for Longwood. Mentioned it's strategic, sometimes depends what part of the race you're going, and Morley said, now sounds about right. She has put a long distance on the field. Entering the final 600 meters. Morley, a sophomore, came through at 219 through the opening 700 as well. And so all three were essentially neck and neck. Morley, a Cosby High School graduate, 6th at last year's Jack Toms invite after posting 5:02 in the 1500. Going to see if she can have some progress approaching the bell lap. Did she surge too early is the question. 340, now just has to hold on for 400. The pair from Shippensburg has stayed intact for second and third, so far the blueprint hasn't fallen out the door. For Morley, she's had a very successful time at Longwood as well as Sophie Farley. 18:10 5K was the third fastest in Longwood history last year. And so she has put together some stellar performances on that distance side, drops down to the 1500, and has so far been able to weather these conditions. 420 and 200 meters to go. Impressive move. Looks like she's going to hold on for the Section 2 victory. We'll see if anyone has to say something about it from Shippensburg, as LeJouvene had led the race through the first 2 laps. Morley untouched in these final 800 meters. See if she has enough in the tank. 5:02 last year, looking to be considerably quicker. That one might be right on the money. A second off, 5:01. Schaefer in second, LeJouvene in third, as Morley wins it by 2 seconds. Think about underclassmen having the opportunity to be in the big moments. That's 4 underclassmen leading that heat. Maya Baker for Lynchburg snuck into 4th. A nice final lap, dropped 2 seconds to go 5:07. Deandra Young rounds out the top 5 from Kutztown with a 5:09. We've seen a lot of those Kutztown athletes that have just continued to come back to this meet. We mentioned progress is important. And for Young, that's going to be an opportunity to have another stellar time. Not on pace for that PR that she would have expected. Hadn't raced since Valentine's Day weekend. Here's the men's race, the men's invite 1500. You see pacing in the black singlet, Sam Laneza, distance coach now at the University of Lynchburg in his first season coaching. Former 10-time All-American, and tied James Goss for the record here at Lynchburg. Going to be a quick section as Tommy Crum from Shippensburg, a 3:51 PR. The Carlisle, Pennsylvania native will look to lead this one. He was a 2024 PSAC Freshman of the Year in cross country. Caden Ellis runs unattached, 2-time North Carolina 1A state champ as well. So a lot of hardware on display in this race, wearing hip number 2. Andrew Schultz for Liberty. Narrowly missed scoring at the Conference USA Indoor Championships with a 15:17 5K. Has never registered a collegiate 1500 as well. So this is going to be an opportunity to debut for several of these athletes. Jack Hollub for Liberty as well. Danny Rocky and Randy White, pair of performers that have really seen success for Lynchburg at the mile distance, going down to that 1500 for the outdoor season. Had stellar performances at the Steamer Showcase to end January, as the Hornets have one of the better mile crews in the nation. Chase Hensinger for Shippensburg, Samuel Yakulis for Virginia Tech Running Club, Nathaniel Orban for Roanoke, one of their stellar freshmen, Ben Hummel from Shippensburg, Matthew Kane for Lynchburg, Luke Blair for Mary Washington, Wyatt Thomas from Virginia Tech Running Club, and Jackson Gutkunst for Shippensburg. 14 athletes, the men's 1500 invite, towing the line and looking to post a quick time. Underway, we'll see what the pacing is set at. Mentioned a 1500's a little more beneficial than the mile. You have that entire 100 meters to set the pace and find your positioning. Tight pack through that opening 100. Strategy for Shippensburg looks to be finding the rail early as they have moved out into a comfortable position. Seeing several of Lynchburg's younger athletes competing. Randy White now, one of the veterans, who sits in third, right behind the pacer, Sam Laneza. Tommy Crum, no questions, rather, that he would be in the front with high expectations, and he has set a 46-second 300. Tommy Crum, just to paint a picture of how successful he has been, has finished first in 11 of his last 12 track races, dating back to February of 2025. Simply doesn't know how to lose. And when you're in a position like that, even when you're facing competition, might be a little bit easier, you just feel like you get out early and you don't look back. We'll see if he can have that same blueprint. Starting to string out here in the second lap. A lot of these athletes trying to refamiliarize themselves with the 1500. And even though we say it's not too much different from the mile, it is a little different when it's only 3 3/4 laps compared to the 8 you see in a normal race. Crum has done well so far. Randy White looks comfortable as well. Technically sitting in second as Sam Laneza paces in the black singlet. Starting to see some separation between that front pack and the rest. Crum still looks very comfortable. 2:06 through the 800 is going to put him at around 3:56 pace. Chance to break 4. And even for that 1500 mark, that has to feel like a really good start to the season. Chase Hensinger has moved into third for Shippensburg as well. The senior who has really had a solid career. Owns a number of top 10 marks. Tommy Crum leading this one coast to coast, but does he have enough in the final 500? Danny Rocky accelerating on the outside, perhaps a chance to go all the way into the lead. The freshman has really had a solid start to his track career. He moves into the lead with 2:56 on the clock. Rocky, 4:21 for second in the mile at the ODAC Indoor Championships. Almost had himself a title in his rookie campaign, but did he make the move too early? Tommy Crum, as we said, experienced with leading these races. He doesn't wait long, catapulting back into the lead. A scrimmage up front between Shippensburg and Lynchburg, and inside the final 200 meters. Tommy Crum, the man to beat. Rocky has a chance. Looking to go on the outside of the curve. And what a performance this would be. A 4:14 mile PR. But Tommy Crum has the response and perhaps the final one. A chance to break 4. The entire pack surging down the final straightaway. 3:57 will win it. 3:58 will gain a lot of respect in a heat like this. Crum with the lead. Rocky and White for Lynchburg were right there as well. We'll see how it shapes up on the podium. Ben Hummel ended up inching out White on the podium, a 3:58 mark. 5 athletes dip under 4 minutes. Tommy Crum ran 4 seconds faster on that final lap. Mentioned the streak. He had won 11 of his last 12, make it 12 of his last 13, assuming no one from the second section is quicker. Owen Guest, Ryan Warner, Jake Sisk, a Lynchburg trio, 1, 2, 3 on the heat sheet for this second section. Of course, we are moving fast to slow the majority of these distance events throughout the meet. Dylan Buffington running unattached, Daniel Naylor for Shippensburg, Jonathan Norton for West Virginia Wesleyan, Brennan Wellock for Shippensburg with Jamison Mantooth of Lynchburg, Andrew Hathaway for Longwood, Shane Stevens, the freshman from Roanoke, Jackson Herndon, perhaps the best season of his career during the indoor year. He is back out for Hampton-Sydney wearing hip number 11 with Robbie Annett for Liberty and hip number 12. If the last section educated us at all, it's smart to make that move early, because even though Danny Rocky didn't come away with the section victory, he really set that pace for the final lap, and Tommy Crum had all the right answers. Gun fires, clean start for our second section. Mentioned the Hornets are expected to be up front. We'll see how that bodes, because Jake Sisk, who is leading this one now, a transfer from Liberty, started his career at New Jersey City, has really found success in some of those big moments in the 800. We'll see if it translates to a little bit of a longer event. Cameron Sidebotham doing the pace work up front for the Hornets. Whole lot of red up front. Jamison Mantooth, also another 800 specialist, has moved himself into the lead. This is a pack that features a lot of athletes that have flown under the radar at the ODAC Championships, and these points can be so crucial as they're rounding out the top 8. Hornets right now occupying the top spots. As we said, Sisk, a transfer, raced the 800 in his final 5 meets of the season and finished 4th in the conference. Took some time finding his footing in a Lynchburg uniform, but he has just continued to impress. And Jamison Mantooth as well, someone who is in the big moments. You certainly feel like the Danville native might have a few tricks up his sleeve being in a senior season. About 135 through the 600. Looking at about 4-minute pace this time as well. That will likely dwindle down, but we will see if they can hold on. 800 left, 153 on the clock. Rain still coming down at a consistent rate. Now, it's not exactly the dumping that we saw during that 5K to start the race. And as we said earlier, if you would prefer it on day 1 or day 2, I think the distance athletes don't mind as much as some of the sprinters who enjoy a little more of the heat and the dry conditions. Move on the outside now. Gotta watch out in a race like this for anyone and everyone, because these final few laps have so many moves. Comes down to the strategy of it, and you still see a large pack as we go into the final 600 meters. For the 800 athletes in this section, it's always about, do you have enough endurance on that final lap? And the question is going to have to be answered very soon. Jonathan Norton for West Virginia Wesleyan holds on to the lead. Can he do it for one more lap? 3 minutes on the clock, a 60 required to break 4. And it looks like for now, Mantooth is going to be that top challenger. Move from Brennan Wellock as well, moving into the lead. Oh, and everyone is moving now. Look on the outside. That is a monster move. Ryan Warner with 200 meters to go and 3:32 on the clock. Has himself a few strides ahead of the field. What a courageous final 400 that would be for the Calvert Hall High School product. 6th at the ODAC Indoor Championships in the 800. He's translating it into the 15. Does he have enough down the final 100 meters? Smile on his face, and you got to feel confident. Footsteps to the finish line, and he has enough. 4:02:08. 13-second PR, and you can see the progress from last season. That was an impressive final lap. Ryan Warner had his name announced until he entered those final 2 straightaways. And here's another look at it. Looking at a move from 6th to 1st in about 5 to 10 seconds. That was a fantastic look at that back straightaway, and in the 1500, that is often a zone for a lot of action. Getting set for more 5Ks on the other side of the track. We'll take a moment here on LHSN and Flo College. You're watching the Jack M. Toms Invitational. Welcome back from the Jack M. Toms Invitational. 2 thrillers in the 1500 as we just watched moves being made at critical points of the race. Danny Rocky for Lynchburg on that first section, taking the lead and then losing it to Tommy Crum. It came down to the final 100 meters, and you see the smooth striding. 2 solid times as well, and early in the year, you love that type of competition. And then in the second section, Ryan Warner inside the final 300 meters shoots out of a cannon to take the lead and the section victory. My name is Evan Gates. Welcome to the Jack Toms Invitational, and a big thanks to our entire production crew braving the weather and, of course, having a fun time here at Jack Toms Track. Jonas Rush, Joe Brennan, everyone on the camera today who has really made this event possible, but also made it very fun to watch. Slowing things down, but only by a bit. Back to the 5K rather, just completed the 1500, and in the women's 5K invite, it's another section that is sure to impress. Strong Roanoke contingent in this one, 6 Maroons, 20 athletes. Let's introduce you to them. And Marissa Kearns for Rio Grande is going to be the one to watch up front. The senior has an opportunity to post a stellar time and also has a PR that is well ahead of everyone else in the field, 17:16, 4th in the nation at the NAIA Indoor Championships. And you expect her to really have a solid showing to get things started. Rest of the field, as we go down the list, Mara Linhart for Kutztown. Beg your pardon, as we lost our positioning. Miriam Alzubi for West Virginia. Wesleyan with Taylor Hess. Her teammate, Abby Norton. Gabrielle DeJoseph for Virginia Tech Running Club. Faith Bellotti for Kutztown with Mary Mansfield for Virginia Tech Running Club. Kaylee Vincent for Shippensburg. Addie Wallen for Mary Washington. Ava Ray and Allie Gallagher for Roanoke, with Maya Herndon. Savannah Reed running unattached. Gabrielle Griffin for Averett. Catherine Armstrong for Mary Washington. Lauren Murray, Sarah Kachansky, and Maylee Vicente Guzman for Roanoke. Laura Blevins for Concord rounds out the 20 female field. We are entering the second lap as you really see a lot of separation right away. That's anticipated at this part of the year. As we said, it's a little less strategic when you're going against the clock. Now Zuby up front had really produced a solid season before this one. You feel like ultimately setting the table for outdoors is something that confidence in the postseason can do. 5th at the Mountain East Championships, 12th in the conference for cross country. Scott Depot, West Virginia native. Maura Lenhart right behind, only by ticks of a second. Pair of juniors going at it. For Lenhart, now to Kutztown, an 18:14 PR, 8th in the 5K at the PSAC Indoor Championships. And you think about a lot of those athletes that finished somewhere between 6th and 8th. You're looking at those final spots to score points. Those are important in a conference meet that can be decided by just a few points. Obviously, here in the ODAC, that wasn't the case this indoor season. Lynchburg, the men's champs, by a strong margin. Washington and Lee claimed it on the women's side, and that has been the case for quite some time. Got to go back a few years to 2024 to see some of those close affairs, particularly on the men's side. If you're watching from afar, from a different division, we are excited that you're tuning in here at Jack M. Tom's Track, and that's really the beauty of track and field. You see a lot of athletes that are competing for different titles. Mentioned NAIA earlier. Several of these schools representing Division II. No Amarissa Kearns, who we advertised as the strong favorite in this section with a 17:16 PR, so it's going to be tight between the next two seed times, Lenhart and Al Zuby. 3:38 through the first K. Separation early. The question becomes in a race like this, where you see these packs quickly forming, how long do you hold on? And for the pair up front, I think they have to feel comfortable staying neck and neck, or, stride by stride as we see right now. Al Zuby just by footsteps has the lead. Think about drafting and the wind. It starts to play more of a role in the outdoor season, doing anything you can to gain an advantage. Looks like 5 athletes are in that chase pack behind. Blue Ridge Chiming has all your results for the Jack Tom's Invitational. As we said, we will do what we can to show you all the results and action from earlier, because the entire field event slate had concluded before we got things underway here in these events. Looks like the men's pole vault was the final one that is finishing up. So we'll do what we can throughout the day to keep you updated. Right now, let's take a look at the men's javelin results. One of the first events earlier in the day, Jackson Hirsch for Shippensburg through 224 feet, 68 meters for the win. Kevin Giavoni for Kutztown in second. Joseph Reed for Slippery Rock in third. Several of these schools you don't get to see during the indoor season as much, making the trek down south for one of their first outdoor meets of the season. Maura Lenhart back into the lead on that back straightaway. Lenhart has earned a PR in each of her last 3 track races, and so that progress has really been on point to end the indoor campaign. And ultimately, you think about having some of those races in your back pocket. You've ran the distance a few times. It can be a little bit easier to familiarize yourself. The 1500 might take a few bites at the apple. Lenhart extending that lead. Roanoke contingent, as we said, wearing those white and gray singlets. You'll see them a little later on. They're going to be an interesting group, the ODAC Championships. Feel like they're going to have a chip on their shoulder going into the outdoor campaign. Obviously, that for the ODACs will be held at Eastern Mennonite. Going down the road as Roanoke is the perennial host for the indoor championships, Salem, Virginia. Lenhart trying to escape. Now Zuby trying to hold on. 7 seconds separate these two ladies' PRs. Now Zuby's is actually quicker as she trails Lenhart right now, 18:07. That PR mark. They had been on pace for 18:10 earlier in this race. We're going to see if that is a mark that holds up. And this Invite 5000, this is also advertised, as you see on your screen, as the Women's Open 5,000. That's because there wasn't an open section earlier today, so everybody consolidated into one. If you're just tuning in, as we said, trying to keep you updated on all the results from earlier in the day. Let's look at the women's javelin throw now. Isabella Bartoletti for Slippery Rock, 145 feet with the throw, 44 meters to win that one. Eva Tokar for Slippery Rock in second, Lillian Bigger for Ferrum in third. Now, an interesting note, Lynchburg had 2 in the top 10. Casey Kelly was 128 feet for fourth. And you think about a lot of these athletes in the outdoor season starting to get a few events in their back pocket again. You have your arsenal, and serves you well in the indoor season, particularly for Kelly, who competed at the indoor championships and the women's triple jump. But to have another event like the javelin, obviously the steeplechase on the track side returns 400 hurdles. There are so many different events that just fit an athlete a little bit better. One of the exciting times of the year when you start to pay attention to some of it. Of course, it's a long season if you look to the national championships, but if you're just restricting your vision to the conference championships, it's a 6-week season. A month and a half to decide everything, and for a lot of the seniors to round out their collegiate careers. Going to fly by, and as the weather continues to change and the trees start to turn here in Central Virginia, it's a little more noticeable every single week. By the time we host the Hill City Twilight in early May, it's going to look a lot different, not just in the environment, but of course the times posted. And for a lot of these athletes, they're looking to be way quicker in a month and a half than the times they're throwing down now. Marlon Hart going to have 6 laps to go, and she's going to be north of 9:20 heading into the final 6 trips around the oval. Kutztown has really started to develop this distance side, and we've seen a lot of these athletes come away with section victories, or at least being in the conversation. Lenhart now in her junior season. Splits have not been as consistent as you would expect. Through a 123 lap down, and that was 2 laps after running a 130. So she knew where she wanted to make that move just after the mile mark. And right now, she is firmly in control. See if there's enough room. Al Zuby still has plenty of time if she wants to try and sneak away with the victory, as that gap has been about as equivalent as it was a mile ago. You can still tell the rain is coming down consistently. Trying to keep you updated on some of the temperatures. They've been in around the 60s today, but it is going to cool down a little bit throughout the night. Sprinters going to have themselves an interesting challenge tomorrow. Obviously, a lot of these sprinters enjoy running or competing later in the day. Not going to have that luxury tomorrow. Action will start early on. Mary Mansfield sits in third for this section, but it's been dominated by Linhart and Alzubi up front through 3K. 10:50 is the time on the clock. Right around that 18-10 seed. And now, perhaps a little wrinkle to the picture. Alzubi closing in on the lead, and maybe a few coaching instructions as you see several of the coaches throughout the year sprinting back and forth on Schellenberger Field, trying to get that game plan as secure as possible. And it looks like Alzubi knew when to go. She is back in the lead. Starting to say, drop the hammer now. Maneuvering the back of the pack as well. This is a time of the race where it is time to start rolling. The final mile will approach with 12:17 on the clock. Rest of our evening slate, it's the men's 5K invite followed by the women's 10K and the men's 10K. Exciting action, and as we said, a long day tomorrow, but you feel like so many of those events are going to be exciting to watch in the sense that there are a lot of athletes coming out to the Hill City. That's why you hope everything is dry for a day like that. More field events happening throughout the day. We're going to get to keep you updated in every department. Still two women close to the front, and that has been the advertisement for the past few laps. From second to third, it's just about 26 seconds. So obviously looking to pace a little bit quicker, trying to keep that quick time, and early in the year, this is exactly what you want to see, just trying to develop that heart. And late in the race, easier said than done. Sometimes you got to remind yourself just how painful this race can be. A lot of athletes won't run it in the indoor season. They focus more on a 3K or something shorter and extend for the outdoor season. Even distribution around the track now as these leading athletes try to maneuver traffic, and we've seen it for the last few laps. What's going to be interesting now, so we saw Maura Linhart with the move earlier in the race. Is she going to have enough for one more as we enter the final 800? Clock at 15:10. Ever so slightly speeding up, and both athletes are right there in the mix. Blue Ridge Timing has all the information, the splits throughout the race, and when you look at a lot of the numbers, it can impress you even more. Think about going to any sporting event, and having those numbers helps you see the full picture. Alzubi still in the lead. How close can these athletes get to that 18-minute mark? Going to be a question to discover as they're inside that final 500. Mara Linhart just won't let go yet. And you got to feel like if she can get to 200 meters and still be tight, what would be the bell lap in the indoor season, split these laps in half, could be a little bit different. In for a treat, 16:34, the bell rings. The Invitational 5K living up to the hype so far. Linhart just a stride behind. They're going to have to make moves on this final lap. So far, every response has been mimicked. Alzubi starting to speed up on that back straightaway. And does Mara Linhart have enough? That stride starting to break. Alzubi is starting to speed up. An intriguing final chapter being written in this fast section. And Alzubi is looking to post at sub 18. Both athletes have a chance. You can start to sniff it. The coaching staff's animated on the sides in the final laps. And Alzubi accelerating into the final straightaway. Linhart a few extra strides. They're going to dip under 18 minutes. And a strong performance. Alzubi goes 17:51. And Linhart 3 seconds behind. Little extra synergizing as they move across the finish line. A gap of around 30 seconds to secure the win. Ava Ray was someone who was right in the mix as well. We'll keep our eyes peeled as it's a 17:51 time for the lead. Gotta feel happy for what Miriam Alzubi has been putting together. Teammates certainly happy, and you also really gotta look at the effort from Mara Linhart and appreciate how that race started. She had ultimately taken control before the rest of the picture fell into place. Men's 5K invite set for 7:15. Final finishers making their trips around the oval. Ultimately, you hope if you have a successful outdoor season that this isn't the fastest that you put together. But it sure would be nice to raise the bar, to start on the right foot. We've seen that across the board from several of these athletes. Minutes away from our men's 5K invite, keeping our eyes peeled here in the final laps of the women's 5K. We'll go ahead and keep introducing you to some more of the field events from today. Women's pole vault results are in. Taylor Funk clears 11 feet and 5 3/4 inches from Kutztown for the win. Allison Taylor second. Same bar, came down to a tiebreaker, and then Natalie Holland for Kutztown in third. And always fun to look at some of those tie-breaking margins, and the high jump in the pole vault comes down to the number of attempts earlier on in the competition. Every single attempt matters. Of course, we've seen a lot of the athletes have to pivot in recent years due to rain in the area. Some of those field events going inside. Final strides for several of these athletes, not just in this race, but in preparation for the next. Men's 5K invite will have 22 athletes. So these packs considerably smaller than what we saw earlier to kick off the day with 33 in that open section. If you were here from the start of the event, the Jack Toms Invitational, perennially the first home meet for Lynchburg. And, of course, Dr. Jack M. Toms has his name in lane 4 of the track for great reason. The coaches and all of the support staff here at Lynchburg has put together a program that contends every year. Not just at the conference level, but national champions, national runners-up. Lamont Victoria, a story we'll get to explore a little more tomorrow, had perhaps one of the best runs that you'll see in a long time. If you're just looking at the numbers, he was seeded 20th, entering the NCAA championships, finished first in the 60-meter dash final, the program's first ever 60-meter title holder. But if you ask anybody around Lynchburg, they'll say, yeah, that's been there all year. And for so many of these athletes, you prove it more and more as the season goes on. The outdoor season was special for Lynchburg last year as they found new horizons as well. 2 national champs, and Jason Hunt and Tor Ho-Tung Davidson. And it was a meet like this that felt relatively benign. Hadn't started the full story. You didn't know a lot of the answers. But as the picture just continued to be developed, you got more confidence that something special was brewing. That was certainly the case. So as the colors come back, everything grows to life throughout the spring. This is a Lynchburg program that feels like they have chances and aspirations that are far beyond what we've seen here in these past few years. They'll have some representation in this men's 5K invite. Several of the veterans returning, as well as some of the newcomers. But Tyler Jenkins of Rio Grande, the high seed of 14-19 seed time coming into this one. Cameron Sidebotham for Lynchburg doing some pace work as well. Andrew Schultz for Liberty entered as well as he was entered earlier in this meet. 14:30 seed time. Schultz narrowly missed scoring, as we said, at the conference championships. First outdoor race for the Flames. Anthony Sanders for West Virginia Wesleyan, a 14:42 PR. Fifth year scored in the 3K and the 5K at the Mountain East Indoor Championships, so high distance. This is exactly his bread and butter. Bodie Erickson for Liberty, going to wear hip number 5, a 14:45 seed time. Redshirted all of last year. He finished inside the top 15 of the Wisconsin Cross Country Championships all 4 years of high school. So you see a lot of Liberty athletes and the new crop that they have developed. They have been very strong in their high school years. State titles, national contention. That is a distance program that has been exploding. And Allie Zeeland, of course, one of the big reasons why. She's been finishing in the top 10 of the Division III championships. Rest of the field, Eric Nygaard for West Virginia Wesleyan, Josh Fretwell for Lynchburg, Caden Strickland running unattached, Braden Ward for Concord, Aiden Riggle and Alex Paciello for Lynchburg. Braden Davis runs unattached. And extra gunfire will stop the race. We'll hold that one, and that will keep everybody stopped in their tracks for the moment as everyone makes the walk back. And looks like they're going to make sure that all the stats are ready to go. Let's go ahead and finish the rest of the lineup. Everybody talking about it up here as you see everyone having to make the walk back in that first 50 meters. Didn't look like the data was transferring as they were going off from the starting line. Ryder Crawford represents Rio Grande, Bramley Childress, Brandon Canaday, and Reese Hickey for Concord. Logan Amos for Lynchburg, Benjamin Goulet and A.J. Koval for Longwood, and Shea Henson for Lynchburg. 22 athletes. I'm going to try this one more time. Everybody goes back, and lucky enough that it's a 5K and nothing else. As we said, looks like the race started, the numbers didn't. And that's probably important for a race like this. Don't want to hand time 22 different athletes. All of the timing and information is up in the box. So as opposed to the starter firing again, and he eventually did to stop the entire field. The second one was actually up here in the press box. So if you heard it a little bit louder, that's one of those you don't see very often, but making sure everybody isn't using up too much energy. Seen a lot of races here at Jack M. Tom's track, and that's a first. Felt like I was about to start a race. Looks like they're going to try things out and make sure everything is good. Officials are back out, everyone towing the line. Let's see what we have in store this time. And the clock is running. That's a good sign. Everybody rocking and rolling. And if you didn't like the start off the first one, well, you're gift-wrapped another opportunity. I think for coaches at this time of the year, you don't mind having some extra adversity. You would rather have to maneuver some of those conditions now than waiting towards the postseason. And you can tell this is an invite section for the men's 5K because everybody is right there. See a few footsteps, and always got to be careful to keep everybody up. Right around 5-minute pace for that first 200. Tyler Jenkins for Rio Grande right now was holding up in front, 35-8. Tight pack through the opening 400, and they're a little bit quicker now, running a 72 to open up this race. Going to be low 15 range, and batting average going to get a little bit better as this race goes on. Tyler Jenkins' PR is 14-19. Andrew Schultz, 15-17. And Anthony Sanders, 14-42. Those are your top 3 seeds in this race, by the way. And so if you're looking for any sort of consistency, not sure what to expect. Of course, going to be interesting as this race stays true to form. Tyler Jenkins still in front. 9 conference titles between cross country and track and field. Recently captured the 3K and 5K crowns. And down in Tallahassee for the NAIA Cross Country Championships, he finished 7th. So Tyler Jenkins is one of the best in the nation for NAIA, having an opportunity to lead this race in what is a very strong pack. Obviously a lot of talent locally. At 800, they're around 225. Still starting to accelerate more and more, about 15-minute pace. West Virginia Wesleyan has a strong contingent up front. We'll see if Lynchburg has a few moves. Those are really the big packs in a race like this. 22 athletes. Caden Strickland also in that mix as well, running unattached for this one. And a lot of those unattached athletes, obviously you're seeding yourself, don't always know where you're starting out. Can be interesting to see how long they can hang in the pack. Jenkins still controlling it comfortably. Eric Nygaard and Kent Nyland for West Virginia Wesleyan right behind. All 3 of them are right around 3:01 and change for the kilometer. Well, we have a few moments. We'll keep you updated, as we said, about some of our other field events. We've gone through the javelin and the women's pole vault. Several other events either under weather delay or waiting for the official results. Andrew Zaplacki for Kutztown, the freshman, in the lead for the pole vault right now on the men's side. Very cool to see some of these underclassmen There's another look right at the middle of that pack, and that kind of paints the picture of how quickly these guys are running. Sometimes from a bird's eye view, not always easy to tell. I mean, this is a 5K, a longer race, but you can tell up front. There's a little extra urgency. Tyler Jenkins understands that he can lead a race like this. For 50-mile pace, that's been what they've tried to stay at, just over 15-minute pace for the 5K, and in conditions like this, you feel like that's a pretty good start. What is a tight pack right now will start to separate in this middle mile. Jenkins opened the outdoor season with a 4:11 mile PR at the Allen County Shamrock Invitational. That down in Myrtle Beach is one of the premier destinations for an opener. A lot of teams just trying to escape the cold, and hasn't been as much of a problem here as it is up north. You think about the indoor season and what some of these teams had to navigate with blizzards and ice storms that were record-breaking. Just couldn't have a consistent training block, and not every team has an indoor track in their backyard. Lynchburg fortunate to have Liberty University right down the road, a lot of assistance, and being able to use their facilities at crucial times of the year like that one. And really, the problem for a lot of athletes was even getting to the indoor track, as the roads had been so bad with the ice that class was canceled for a few days on end. You know, as you go more north, that becomes a little more of an abnormality, probably not going to happen as often. Tell you what is projected is Tyler Jenkins. Strong lead right now. Aiden Riggle has joined that podium chase. One of the Hornets who has put together stellar time in a red singlet, competing at the championship level. And sometimes you think about athletes that you're talking about in the top three. Finishing third can sometimes be more valuable than finishing first and second if you're in a different division. Obviously, Aiden Riggle competing at that Division III level, but Tyler Jenkins up front, the NAIA. So you never exactly know as Riggle moves into second. Right now, it's Tyler Jenkins' race to lose. Everybody else trying to stay in the mix. Jenkins a 14:19 PR. Facility record here at Lynchburg is 14:18. Mentioned that the pace throughout this race has been set closer to the 15-minute mark. Going to be an exciting chase for second place right now. Aiden Riggle holding on just narrowly. All of the coaches doing what they can to shout the instructions, figuring out each place. And the middle portion with 6 laps to go. Jenkins, Nygaard, and Riggle. 1, 2, 3. Caden Strickland and Ryder Crawford 4th and 5th. All of them approaching the 3K mark. We've seen a few close finishes to start the day at the Jack Toms Invitational. Quick opening night, just the 10K to go after this one, and then the rest of the slate tomorrow. Starting earlier in the day. Going to be 10:30 start time for the men's 4x1, and it will finish up tomorrow at around 5:05 with the women's 4x4. Four athletes setting that chase pack. Tyler Jenkins through 3K, 8:53. And he has really started to soar at this part of the race. Starting to chip down as well. 5K mark now well inside the 15-minute mark. Jenkins only speeding up on that back straightaway. Right now, it looks like Eric Nygaard is still sitting in second. Sophomore has a 14:47 PR as well, so don't be surprised if he's still in the mix. Finished fourth at the Mountain East Indoor Championships, and that 14:47 PR was a performance at that meet. It was a 23-second personal best. Talk about running with confidence and also doing it at the right time of the season. The postseason is exactly when you want to be firing on all cylinders. Jenkins left alone up front, entering the final mile, a few ticks over 10 minutes. Right now you're looking at the chase pack, 4 athletes right in that mix. We're going to see if Aiden Riggle can go into lane 2 and try to make a move. All 3 athletes trying to find the rail as they go into the final 4 laps. That's going to be the mix that we keep our eyes on, as Jenkins right now looks to be a sure thing up front. You can tell as the water pools inside the D zone of the track just how rainy it's been these last few hours. It was actually a relatively dry day in Lynchburg until the meet started, and that's when the skies started to open up. Welcome to spring. Here's a look at Jenkins and the pace he is committed to, one of NAIA's top 10 athletes on the distance side. 6th in the 5K at the Indoor Championships with a 14:29 performance. Got to feel like a lot of that fitness lingered around, as right now he has, give or take, about 40 meters on the field. That is a distance that is only climbing as he approaches the finish line with 3 laps to go. Aiden Riggle leads that chase pack right now, and that's going to be a stellar time if he can hold on to that pace. Aiden Riggle's 5K PR is 14:56. The NAIA slate so different than other divisions, obviously different events. You see in those other divisions, the 4x8 is back. That's traditionally just a high school event in Virginia. So you see a lot of those times and what's impressive back then you never see it again. So it's very cool to see what has been happening. "12-minute mark. "800 meters left. Clock will read 12:25. So we'll just see how quickly he can go. And the chase pack's starting to heat up a little bit as well. This is going to be an intriguing pair of laps. Caden Strickland has been right there, has moved to the rail with a 12:35 time through 4,200, 10 seconds behind Jenkins. And all of a sudden, that's going to be the big battle to keep our eyes on. Here is Tyler Jenkins on our screen, senior for Rio Grande. To already have a 4:11 mile under your belt in the season, and you're going to put together a 5K that's south of 15 minutes, don't you feel like he's going to be in a good spot? And had a field that helped him out for only portions of the first mile. Exploded out of a cannon ever since. Some movement from the chase back. Here is Jenkins controlling the narrative and entering the final lap. Got to feel like confidence is at a premium as 13:35 reads on the clock. Here comes the battle for second. Ryder Crawford, his teammate, looking to go 1-2. He's moved into a good spot, 13:44, and that's a sophomore putting together that performance as Caden Strickland trails for third. Everyone's starting to move inside their final trip around the oval. An invite section that is poised to post some quick times. The battle for second shaping up. Crawford holding on by his fingertips as Caden Strickland challenges behind. But right now, The race belongs to Tyler Jenkins. Around the coronation curve, and now it's all smiles. You got to feel like this is a performance that could really help him out for qualifying in the outdoor season. Tyler Jenkins, 14:44. Battle for second, and it's going to belong to Caden Strickland, 14:49. Ryder Crawford goes 14:50. Looks like Aiden Riggle dipped under that PR, 14:54. The top five rounded out by Eric Nygaard's performance from West Virginia Wesleyan, 15:01. Gotta really feel like it's early on in the season. But you're seeing some of the NAIA performances right around in the 14:30s for qualifying. Tyler Jenkins is someone who is always seeming to be in the mix. He's just off that B cut. 14:44 was his performance. The B cut in NAIA is 14:35. So you feel like a few more performances in the season will help him out.
It's in our DNA. Making a difference. Being real, innovative,
from the
and
Jack
strong
Toms
wherever you
Invitational.
are.
Back for the 10Ks to round out
Creating
day one.
change.
Stick with
You
us.
believe the world can be better. We all can be better. And here is where we start making it happen. Fostering belonging. No matter who you are, here, you're home. Achieving excellence. From the classroom to the court, we don't settle. Neither should you. Lynchburg, it's in our DNA. Today, tomorrow, always.
A trademark of this place is self-expression. Not forced, not filtered, not a facade. We don't shape students into copies. We help you find your own voice.
This is awesome. Like, not just for your career benefit, but also personal benefit. I mean, you can learn how to invest your own money. And you can learn how to do it here.
Just about ready to go. Women's 10K, and followed by the men to round out day one of the Jack Toms Invitational. Welcome in here at the University of Lynchburg. First of 4 home meets on the season. Flies by in the outdoor campaign. Rain continues to come down, and the distance events, as we said, are exactly what it is. Struggles getting this race started. As we said earlier, trying to get the clock all synced up. $10K list, always a little bit of a bigger field, and not a bad problem to start again. Obviously, it doesn't take a lot of accelerating. Just want to make sure that everybody stays healthy, not falling down, and sometimes when you have a lot of traffic, those things can happen. We'll go ahead and run you down the list for this one, as we expect another tight field. Obviously, the 10K has potential to start separating earlier. 13 athletes in this one. Sonia Semling for Liberty, 37:50 seed time. Followed up by Taylor Hess of West Virginia Wesleyan. Victoria Bartholomew of Shippensburg. Audrey Fitzpatrick of Virginia Tech Running Club. Lizzie Davis and Sage Dunkelberger for Kutztown. Shayla Krusky for Shippensburg. Nina Castellano for Kutztown. Sarah Turner of Concord. Ashley Mortensen of Virginia Tech Running Club. Emma and Abby Laundry for Concord. And Lily Hoffman for Mary Washington. 13 athletes. See if the clock is firing with the gun this time. And after a prolonged wait, we're off and running. Championship hold right there. You know, as the postseason goes on, sometimes they're waiting on the line a little bit longer, but we are off and running. 10K is 25 laps. It is the longest event any track and field sector, and what's interesting about it, obviously it's just as tough for the runners to keep up with the laps as it is for the lap counters. Crucial role in a race like this, and as you see, separation early. You expect everybody to stay on their own pace and run their own race. We'll see how it continues to come into play. We'll start running down some of the earlier results as we go on as well. We've mentioned a lot of the field events from earlier in the day. For the separation that we have seen, it does still feel like a solid pack up front. With the way that the rain has been as well, you see a lot of that water starting to collect, and mentioned it in between the break, but sometimes you see with the timing trying to deal with the conditions, that can be tricky. Semling for Liberty has held onto the lead. This one followed by the men's race to conclude day one. You got to feel for the parents, everyone in attendance today. A lot of umbrellas out in the crowd because You know, as often as you go to watch your kids in the sporting events early on, this is one of those that, you know, if you're just sitting and spectating 25 laps in the rain and colder temperatures, you are a trooper. That's why we are fortunate to bring this stream to you on LHSN and Flow College. Right now, the top three, Semling, Kruski, and Hess, all ran 129 opening 400s, and it's a clean 25 laps. Feel like the game plan is pretty set. Let's talk about Semling up front. Comes into this one having won a Minnesota State cross-country team title in high school. Was back in a Wisconsin native, moved and was a 4-time state qualifier in Nordic skiing as well. That is one of those weird combinations that runners just seem to have. Semling's lone meet in a Liberty uniform was the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitational. That was in the indoor season. A few Lynchburg athletes were involved in that as well. She ran a 5:17 mile and 10:25 3K. So difficult to gauge what some of these athletes will run in a 10K, having their first of the season. Up front, still an opportunity for two athletes. Semling has the narrow lead. Audrey Fitzpatrick for Virginia Tech Running Club going to be right there as well. Wellesley High School product out of Massachusetts. Tougher to get numbers for some of these club athletes and those that aren't officially registered. When you look at the TFERS numbers, of course, if you are a track and field athlete, that's where all the results are given and your big database is set. But for some of these club athletes, the opportunities are just as vast as these other divisions. And you see the travel patterns. You are paying for some of your meets, and the schedule looks a little bit different, maybe more upon availability when you can get out to race and set a training block. But it's still cool getting the opportunity, and we see a lot of club athletes come here to Lynchburg knowing that it's really not too far, being a central location in Virginia. Fitzpatrick and Semling up front. Facility record here at Jack M. Tom's track 35:44. That was set back in 2011. Running down our event winners from today, Thomas Fulcher started the day in the men's 5K 15:35 performance. Women's 15 invite belongs to Sophie Farley, who has won 2 events at this meet 2 years in a row. Lancer product. Tommy Crum won the men's 15 invite with a 3:57 performance. Ben Hummel, his teammate, joined him for second. Women's 5K belonged to Miriam Alzubi of West Virginia Wesleyan. Nice kick at the end with Mara Lenhart. 2 go under the 18-minute mark in that race. And then the men's 5K invite, Tyler Jenkins of Rio Grande went 14:44, narrowly missing that cut that could have qualified for the NAIA Championship. Still plenty of time in the season, so to do that at that point is very solid. Audrey Fitzpatrick, Tanya Semling 1-2. Little extra separation between third place. Shayla Kruski still about 5 seconds back in her freshman season. Only section in the women's race, and then we'll be followed by the men's 10K to wrap things up. Starting to see this race get closer and closer. Obviously, about 20% finish through 2K. And this can be a tough race mentally because you try to break it up in increments, and you do so as best as you can. But you do know that it is still tough to try and figure things out as it goes. So having a teammate or even someone else you're running against by your side helps establish that pace. Right now, the middle pack still has 6 athletes involved. So not completely alone. For many programs, the outdoor season is a little more localized than the indoor campaign. Don't have indoor tracks everywhere, and spoiled in Virginia with the number of college options you have. Of course, if you're native to Lynchburg, you also have VMI, Virginia Tech. Roanoke College has hosted the ODAC championships, but it's not as available everywhere you go. So for some of these teams that are making the trip south to start the season, that's got to be a fun road trip. You have spring break for several schools. Of course, Lynchburg enjoyed theirs several weeks ago. Really still felt like winter. Right now, though, it's a pair of local foes going at it. Semling and Fitzpatrick for Liberty and Virginia Tech. The 10K on the track always brings back memories when you see rain in the forecast. Go back to the ODAC championships from last year and watch just how much rain was coming down in that race. Maybe the most you'll ever see. And for 25 trips around the oval, to have to deal with that and the rain coming and going as it pleased, that was simply incredible. Aiden Riggle, who we saw earlier today in the 5K, had a nice mark and dipped under his PR by 2 seconds. He won that race. And when you looked at it after, it just looked like it had been warfare. It was an incredible performance. Of course, that's the outdoor season, and every day you want to host a meet. It seems like the rain is back. Semling, as we said, in the lead. Also involved with Nordic skiing back in the day during the high school days. So impressive to see the versatility for a lot of these athletes as that pack is tight up front. New addition, Shayla Krusky made up several seconds to rejoin the party. She was behind by 6 seconds just 2 laps ago. All of a sudden, 3 are involved in the race. Now the rescue run doing that early on is, do you have the energy in a couple miles? Back straightaway, still several fans in attendance, teammates watching on day 1 of the Jack Toms Invitational. Blue Ridge Timing will have all of your live results throughout the day. This one, of course, the final event. Great time for sports, and really these few weeks have been make or break, and just about every sports schedule for the collegiate landscape. You think about here at Lynchburg, if you've been involved with the program, the success for the baseball team and lacrosse, both top 5 competitors in the nation. Every weekend becomes more important, and that's the same for track and field. Obviously, limited opportunities once you get near the end of the season. Everyone thinks that qualifying lists are important for nationals, and they are. But even more so for the conference championships, to make sure that you have a chance to go represent your team, put some points on the board, and ultimately work towards the grand prize. Three athletes in the front still running in stride, and you really wonder who's going to break first. Audrey Fitzpatrick, 12:06 mark through 2 miles. Looking at a 10K, just over 40 minutes. There's a good look as they make their way down the home straightaway. See if there's any extra movement. Looks like everybody's been pretty content. Sonia Simling doesn't want to wait. She's going to move back into the lead. Simling on that inner rail. Just trying to stay comfortable, and you would think that when you look at the heats and the numbers that she's in a really good spot coming into this race based on the seed time. Simling's PR in high school for the 5K was 18:24. And that's in the cross-country season. So obviously lots of hurdles to overcome to try to figure out what exactly would be a predictable time in a race like this. You ask a lot of athletes their approach and their attack for a race like this, and sometimes it's not as complicated as you would think. It's just about the repetition and hitting the splits lap after lap. Can be mind-numbing, and that's typically when you're having a good race, when you're not thinking about it too much and all of the numbers that go into it. All three side by side now as they go down the home straightaway, and we have seen the movement that we already talked about. Fitzpatrick right there for Virginia Tech. .15:05, 15 laps to go. Jack M. Tom's track, of course, named after the meet as well. You know, this is a special opportunity to showcase the program history at Lynchburg, and we've talked about that a lot. But if you go and look at the facility records from the last few years, particularly back in that 2024 season on the outdoor oval, we've seen some facility records go down that were not really in jeopardy. You didn't think it would happen, and for several of those athletes, it's been the unattached that come in and deliver. So for someone like Fitzpatrick, obviously involved with the club team, not necessarily unattached, but you just see a lot of these athletes that, even though they're not affiliated with a school, they're still very competitive, and this is a venue where it becomes tougher and tougher to have facility records. Fitzpatrick back in the lead again. We've seen a lot of movement for three athletes in the race. You would think they would be content to sit and maybe even take a mile off. They are not doing that, keeping the pace energized and trying to stay in a good spot to attack that final half of the race. As we start to approach it, Fitzpatrick right now by a stride. Here in the 2024 season for Fitzpatrick, it was an 11:24 2-mile PR. So obviously, you know, you trying to gauge all these different numbers. And these athletes out there running a 10K in the rain, coach didn't scratch you. That probably means that this is the bread and butter. Sonia Simling, who took the lead for a moment and then let up, is now in third and has a chance to fall off the leaders. See that separation starting to build. We saw an impressive surge earlier in this race. Shayla Krusky, who had been behind by 6 seconds, was able to join the pack again. See if Fitzpatrick holds on in the front. She's looked the most comfortable, but still plenty of time. Few looks to her side. Krusky right there, 18:03. So Fitzpatrick in front. We'll see if there's any extra urgency as they start making their way around the curve about halfway through. And the 1840s for that 5K split. Fitzpatrick moves to the outside. Looks like Krusky is going to move along the rail. Takes back the lead. Yeah, that's an interesting move because it looked very intentional from Fitzgerald to want to sit off the shoulder. And we'll see how long this happens. Fitzgerald had been in a great spot for a large portion of this race, and now all of a sudden as well for Liberty, Sonia Simling falling off by a considerable margin. Final warm-ups for the men's race will be up and away. Starts in a few moments, and obviously later hours of the evening, but still not a late finish for the Jack Toms Invitational. Will look to be wrapped up close to 9 o'clock. Through the first 2 hours of action. Starting to crown several of the event champions at this meet. Obviously, it's a field that will likely be cut down just a little bit due to the weather. Had several athletes that did not choose to participate. Fitzpatrick's now back in the lead. So the yo-yo match continues up front. Don't always get a finish that comes down to the final seconds in a 10K like this where there's so much time to separate. Wonder if we're going to get one if these two athletes can stay intact. They have put together a solid performance so far, doing it in extremely different ways. These are the moments early in the season that might not seem significant now, but races that really have to be tested in, tough competition, you definitely feel like it helps you move forward. And for athletes even at that club level like Fitzgerald, it's just a good rep, knowing what you're capable of as you move into the later portions of the season. We've seen how many responses have happened between these front two athletes. Fitzgerald has gone back and forth several times, but does that wear you out? That's a tough way of racing. Krusky's back into the lead. Ten to go at 6K. It was 22:26 on the clock. Getting closer down to that 37:30 to 38 range. Whoever comes away with the win is certainly putting forth a stellar effort, because this has not been an easy way of doing it. It hasn't been a large pack, haven't had a lot of maneuvering. Obviously only 12 or 13 athletes. You don't have to deal with the rear end of the pack as you go around the track. You see sometimes an indoor, when it's a smaller track, more laps. That happens often. Krusky's still in the lead, 9 laps to go. It's always interesting with coaching at this point of the race as well, because you see your athletes so many times. How valuable are your words going to be at that point where you feel like you've gone back and forth? You've had so many moments to think and ponder. Trying to eliminate the pain as best as possible in a race like this is more mental than anything else. And when you can shut down your brain and stay in your zone, you have a better chance of not only surviving, but putting forth his personal best. Inside the single digits for final laps of this women's 10K, the men's race on deck to conclude day one. Fitzgerald, about halfway through this race, relinquished the lead, moved out into lane 2, and let Krusky take things over, but then she started making a few more moves. Perhaps unsettled about the pace. Both look comfortable. The strides haven't gone anywhere. See what's left to prove. 2 miles to go. Inside 25:20 at that mark. A few extra steps now for Krusky in front. Shippensburg, a program that has really taken off on the distance side. Already saw a win earlier on when we were watching the men's 1500. Tommy Crum took first with a 3:57 performance. Going to see Chase Hensinger tomorrow in the 800 with a chance to win on the men's side. Simply put, they're a program that has been on the up, but also it seems like you could have expected it with the performances we've seen in recent years. You go to the PSAC Championship team scores. The men dominated. Shippensburg scored 181 points. This was the indoor championships up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. On the women's side, Slippery Rock able to inch out East Stroudsburg by 10 points. Won the meet with 98 points. 5 teams in that meet had over 70. So the parity on the women's side is incredible. You rarely ever see that, scoring under 100 points to take a meet unless it's in the postseason. So far, so good for Krusky, still out in front. You can tell she is only starting to accelerate in these final 2 miles. Fitzpatrick had done everything she could to inch her way into the lead, moving back and forth, not paying off now. When you watch the 10K, what's so impressive is it can be one lap where the athletes recognize they're close enough, they're feeling good enough to go after it, start speeding things up. It looks like that might be the case. So both athletes in the front have held the numbers we expected, 6 laps to go. Tomorrow's slate, as we said, primarily sprint events, a few distance events sprinkled in there. The longest one we will see tomorrow is the steeplechase near the end. Kicking things off with the 4x100 at 10:30. A lot of open sections for the 1500 will follow after, so really a third of the distance slate will be done early in the morning. You got the 800 and the steeplechase a little bit later on. Schedule as you would anticipate. And overall right now, as you see, Krusky still comfortably striding in front by 4-second lead. This is going to be a strong performance to round out the women's day one. Still enough time for a comeback, but it felt like Fitzpatrick used a lot of energy earlier on in the race. Have to feel like the rain is out of the athletes' brains at this point. It's been there the whole race and approaching the 30-minute mark. You watch moving around that curve, how much traffic they're trying to navigate. Never an easy task. This paints a picture of just how strong the surge has been. Sonia Simling is on the other side of the track now. And this was a 3-athlete race for a long time. Eight kilometers in, Krusky had a 9-second lead over Audrey Fitzpatrick. Early in the season, you think about an outdoor slate having 6 weeks of regular season competition, sometimes 5. And then you're heading to the postseason, and it feels like the 10K is an event where if you can post a solid time early in the year, you might not touch it again. So obviously an incentive to move quickly and not fall too far off the pace. You don't want to have to use another one later in the year because it's such a tricky event to try and double in a given weekend. Perhaps the reason we've seen smooth striding from Shayla Krusky, the freshman, 4 to go from Shippensburg. As you heard, 39:40, the personal best. And Krusky won the 5K at the PSAC Indoor Championships, 17:16 performance, and finishing second in the 3K with a 10:06. So she has been lights out in those distance events. Raced at the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitational as well, 10:02 3K in that one for a PR. Posted 4 personal best in the last 5 races, but of course, freshman season, it's a little bit different. Don't necessarily have a difficult path to post times like that. Now, This is freshman eligibility, even though there were a couple races last year. So sometimes you can see that in the changes with redshirt seasons. Always tough if you ask a track athlete or a distance athlete what classification they are, they might give you 3 different answers. See some 6th-year athletes coming back. Krusky has led a solo effort. Really cruising in the final 2 miles. Will be interesting to see if this men's race has more of a pack than we have seen in this one. Even in the opening laps of this race was already starting to separate. .33:41 on the clock. Just a pair of laps remain. Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania native. Think about the performances that she has put together already for the Raiders. It has been a stellar showing, but she still has a lot left to prove. Back in high school, also competed in soccer and basketball. You see a lot of these athletes who ended up being multi-sport athletes. What's most impressive about it is a lot of those seasons overlapped. And obviously in Virginia, soccer season and outdoor track season are at the exact same time in the spring. Putting together a portfolio always special, and it always helps to be able to bolster that work ethic. Approaching the final lap, 25 long, arduous trips around the oval. It all comes down to the final 400. 39:40 is the personal best. The bell will ring. This is going to be a very impressive performance. Facility record for the 10K, 35:44. Obviously, you think about that personal best and just the minutes that are going to be cut off after this one. Got to about 1.5 miles out. That's when you really started to tell that she had that belief and confidence. And run 127s and even 130 splits for a large portion of this race. Dipping all the way down here in these last few laps to the low 120s. Krusky for the last 5 laps at 123. Strong support around the oval and all the way home to the final straightaway. An effort that will go down in the books as one of the biggest PRs that we see in the entire meet. Belongs to Shayla Krusky. Soaring to the finish inside 36:30. What a complete race. Audrey Fitzpatrick enters the final straightaway as well and will have herself a nice time. When you looked at what you expected coming into this one, time's obviously going to be quick. When you have a start like that, several athletes involved in the mix. Fitzgerald goes 36:49. Beg your pardon, Fitzpatrick finishing in second. Sonia Simlingad stuck in third for a large portion of this race. She is approaching that finish inside the final 200 meters. Krusky just kept dipping down throughout the race. Fitzpatrick had a quick final lap as well. Semling coming through final 50 meters, and she will dip down inside 37.45. And come through at 37.42. That's your top three in the women's open 10K. Men's race start list will have 25 athletes. See how many of them are in attendance for a rainy finale. Still a few days, or a few athletes to come around, rather, on day one. See on your screen all of the results coming through and all the splits. Big thanks to Blue Ridge Timing, always making it possible and making life for everybody a little bit easier in these longer races. Keep our eyes peeled on the clock as we get set for the men's 10K. just about set for the men's 10,000, our final event of the day. The women's 10K, lots of movement in that first mile, but it belongs to Shayla Krusky, 36:26 time, and dipped under her PR of 39:40. If that just really paints a picture of over 2 minutes for a personal best, how impressive these early season races can be, you really feel like it's anybody's day. We'll keep you posted with other results throughout this one as well, but as we get ready for what will be a larger field on the men's side, we have a lot of storylines to cover. You see a lot of athletes that will toe the line momentarily. High seed in this one is Garrett Gwinen from Shippensburg, 29:37 PR, the two-time PSAC champ in the cross-country season back in 2023 and 2024. Really impressive on the aerobic side. Had a 31:06 performance to win the conference title. 8 conference titles combined between the cross-country and track slates. And so you just feel like Gwinen is going to be the guy to beat. And everybody else likely going to try and stick with him in an effort like that. Jonathan Cobb of Lynchburg with Max Gretchen of Virginia Tech. Eric Simling running unattached. Eric Nygaard for West Virginia Wesleyan. Peyton Small for Kutztown with Jason Conrad for Shippensburg. Kent Nyland for West Virginia Wesleyan with Draven Fernandez of Lynchburg. Robbie Lloyd of Kutztown. Ryan Wolf of Shippensburg. Landon Sell of West Virginia Wesleyan. Blaze Brenneman of Lynchburg. Johnny Walkup of Concord. Zane Rashid, Samuel Harvey, Caden Emily, Ryan Chrisman, Nathan Montgomery, and Luke Thomas of Virginia Tech Running Club. Nicholas Miralis and Stephen Neese for Mary Washington. Micah Evans of West Virginia Wesleyan, Garrett Weaver, and Kellen Bishop of Roanoke. 25 athletes. We'll see if this one gets started on the right foot. Race starts. Clock does as well. That's a good sign as we are off and running in the 10K. We'll see if Gwinen goes straight to the front. Obviously the favorite in this one, but plenty of others to talk about in a race like this, and you expect it to be a very tight race near the front as well. We'll allow it to open up in these first few laps and then see where we are at. Got to feel happy for a lot of the athletes who have completed this race on the women's side because there was plenty of rain. Still misting and coming down consistently, but not as heavy as what we saw in some of the earlier races. We have seen some troopers out and about here at Jack M. Tom's track. And lots of support on the sides for our final race of the day. Got to appreciate the efforts. Gwinen has moved to the front. He is riding the rail in the lead. Hasn't finished lower than 6th at a conference championship. And when you're in big moments like that, rest assured you can do well in the regular season. Lots of packs starting to form already based on some of the teammates in this mix. Obviously, Shippensburg moved to the front. Lynchburg has a few in the middle. Roanoke and Virginia Tech, all of them starting to separate in different paces. And so you wonder who is going to be the one to really emerge as they start colliding together. Saw the movement early in the women's race, and it ended up haunting some of the athletes later on. Audrey Fitzpatrick, who had made several moves, just didn't have enough steam to keep up in the final mile and a half. Right now, still a quick pace at the front. By no means do you think this race is completely comfortable in the first half of it. So Guinan leads the charge, 235 through 800. 32:30, 10K pace. So that's going to start dipping down after these first few laps. Comfortable for cruise control early on. Several pacers in this race as well. Joe Carroll being one of them for Lynchburg, the assistant distance coach in his first season and even in his first semester. He's done really well to complement Sam Laneza, who is running the show on the distance side, all of whom are under Coach Mario Wilson. The director at Lynchburg in his first season has such a strong background, came from UVA and produced national title talent there. Does so with Lamont Victoria in the first season that he coaches, the indoor season. Lamont Victoria, the 60-meter title, and what a special way to do it. By a thousandth of a second, the NCAA championships. Eight athletes in that front pack right now. There are a few forming those chase packs, and for a lot of teams that try and pace this one together, it can also be about conference championship aspirations. Being in a spot where you're just trying to post a time and be ready to go come April. Max Gregson in the lead for Virginia Tech Running Club. Was at 3:51 through the 1200. Looking into that low 5-minute range. And the entire group not looking phased by that pace yet. Pair for Kutztown, also a pair for Mary Washington involved. They'll come through at around 5:08. Have looked strong so far, and for Lynchburg, that pack in the middle, as we've said, it really looks like tempo pace, about 5:30. So Gregson right now and everyone else in that front pack. Gregson a 30:26 personal best. Last registered a collegiate race in April of 2021. Now a marathon runner, an Arlington, Virginia native. And he has done very well at that marathon distance. 2:32 performance at the One City Marathon in Newport News. For a lot of athletes, once they graduate college, it's so tricky to figure out what distance you want to commit to. Are you going to be more of a marathon runner? Do you want to stick around track races and that 5K setting? And so ultimately, to see some of these marathoners be as successful as they are, I don't think it's a surprise that they find that talent, especially being a distance runner on the 5K, 10K side on the track. Right now, that's the case up front, and getting to go out and compete against these other collegiate athletes really keeps things fresh. Tell you what else is fresh. The grass in Central Virginia soaked from rain throughout the day, and rest assured, it should be out of the forecast for tomorrow, but colder temperatures for these sprinters to try and maneuver. The high in Lynchburg today was all the way up to 78. Tomorrow it's as low as 52. See where temperatures settle as Might see some in the 40s to start the meet out. And for 4x1 athletes, you wonder if a lot of teams either choose to scratch or hold their athletes until later in the day. You do recognize you have limited chances in the outdoor season to go out and run fast. $10K always a longer effort, requires some time and patience. You see everyone right now content to trot and stay close. Also see several of the spectators making their way onto the track along that curve. It makes for an intriguing atmosphere, trying to get everybody involved. And the Lynchburg contingent making some noise as they go around the curve on the other side. Lead pack, 18 to go. Still 8 involved. They're going to have to make some serious moves around that Virginia Tech crowd here in the next few footsteps. Looks like they're going to be able to use the inside. Most crowded we've seen the race since it began. Now moves have been made, and you wonder when the hammer's going to be put down. Probably after that 3-mile mark, things will start to get serious. Guinan, Gregson, and Nick Smirlis, top 3. Guinan looking to his right, saying a few words to his teammate too. Maybe a little bit of strategy before they start to take off. Ryan Wolf right there as well for the Raiders. And through 2 miles, they are at 10:20. Approaching the halfway mark. So interesting, some of the strategy that goes on in a race like this, because obviously if you haven't raced it, it's a little tricky to try and figure out what's happening when, because every coach has a little bit of a different strategy, and goes back to practice as well. It takes a lot of aerobic development. See some of those tempo sessions that start to be a major factor in getting everybody involved. When you can have a pack like that, very much a beneficiary. That's why some of the best distance programs in the nation also are simultaneously the largest, because they have so much depth. Grinding on the inner rail. Leads by a hair, 11:38. 16 to go. Starting to get real. We're going to take a quick break. You're on LHSN and Flow College. We'll be back. Welcome back. And Jack M. Tom's Track, day one of the Jack Tom's Invitational coming to a close with the men's 10K, and it's been a tight race so far. A little bit different than what we saw on the women's side that really had 3 athletes at this portion of the race. It was tight, made strategic moves, and most of them worked out for the 10K champ, Shayla Krusky. Now on the men's side, you have 8 athletes, all within a second. Ryan Wolf of Shippensburg and Garrett Gwinen, 2 teammates, have worked themselves into good spots up front. Max Gregson now sits in second for Virginia Tech Running Club as well. So the top 3 are in a comfortable spot. 14:12 on the clock and 14 laps remain. Always seems like at this part of the race as well, when you have teammates, it's just about trying to keep as many pairs together as you can. It's a harsh reality in the 10K, knowing that not everyone in that pack of 8 is going to be together. Got to do what you can to just try and avoid any of those difficult laps when the splits start getting a little bit tougher. Most of the time you can tell if it's going to be a good day in the office or not after the first half of the race, just knowing how easy you can execute those splits. Ryan Wolf still leading up front for Shippensburg. Let's see if any extra moves are made now, and perhaps things start to heat up as we get to the halfway mark. You see some movement on that outer side. Going to be close to that 32:20 range, maybe a little bit under. Will actually come through in about 16:06, and so 32:10 going to be that pace that they're shooting for. Obviously, we mentioned a lot of those PRs are a little bit lower, and so far it has been a committee effort. Who's going to break that up? See if these next couple of miles add some extra separation. Garrett Gwinen right now on the outer side for Shippensburg, looking to accelerate into the lead. He is the high seed. He's with his teammate Ryan Wolf up front. So far, they've just boxed in Max Gregson, who is sitting right behind. This is going to be an intriguing development as they continue around the oval. Gwinen certainly has the experience. Gregson, of course, as we said, at the marathon level has been proficient as well, so 2 distance giants. If you're just joining us, Garrett Gwinen, 2-time conference champ for cross country, has 8 conference titles if you add in the track and field accolades. Athletic family as well. His father, Frank, competed in cross country. Mother, Carolyn, competed in swimming as well, so those endurance athletes, they always seem to run in the family. 5K champ with a 15:10 performance, and so you gotta feel like the pace that they've been putting together is pretty easy. Kutztown athletes could make a surge as well. We haven't mentioned their name as this pack of 8 has worked towards the front. Robbie Lloyd and Peyton Small trying to make sure their names get recognized, and a good time to do it inside the final 12 laps. Now inside 11 to go for that front pack. There's a look on that back straightaway at how this pack is forming out. And Gwynin right now just tall strides up front. Really hasn't left any doubt. You see a lot of the spectators, that's mostly members of the Lynchburg distance program cheering on their squad and on the home turf too, so it's not too late. Looking at day one being wrapped up close to 9 o'clock. Turn around and do it again in 13 hours. Gregson now right there, perhaps ready to go. Ultimately, you feel like moves at this point could prove to be pivotal, but also might bring some more of the crowd with them. Max Gregson for Virginia Tech Running Club, 1916 through 6K. Looking at a 10K around 32 minutes. Gregson comfortably in front. See, right now the lead by probably 20 meters for Max Gregson. This chase pack on your screen right now, gonna have some work to do. We'd been talking about Gwynin for the majority of the time. Gregson through 20:30 with 9 laps to go. A lot of the athletes making their way around the track. As we said, the packs have stuck together a little bit better in this race compared to the other we saw on the women's side. Max Gregson for Virginia Tech leading this race now by a very comfortable margin around the curve. He made the move at the right time, and now it's all about trying to hold on. Inside the final 2 miles now. Gregson has increased that lead to about 8 seconds now, and what was so impressive is the fact that this was his time to just sit in the pack for a large portion of it. Gwynin and Wolf sitting second and third. If you're tuning in to the Jack Toms Invitational, big thanks to you, and if you've stuck around all day, had a fun start to this meet. Several distance events, and obviously all the sprint stuff coming up tomorrow. It's a very different pace and moving through sections at a rapid rate. Always seems like one of the first home meets of the year. Features some crazy conditions, weather looking a little bit different, and the rain throughout the evening didn't pose any problems. Everybody off and running. Gregson, the Arlington native, 30:26 personal best. For several of these athletes, that mark was around the 32-minute mark halfway through the race. That was the pace that had been set. Looks a lot different now. Temperatures that started in the 70s today have dipped all the way down to about 50. Welcome to spring in Virginia. We've been talking about it the last few seasons. If you don't like the weather today, just roll a dice, and you might get a different outcome tomorrow. Always smart to have layers, and even for some of these runners, it's the perfect storm when you have this outdoor season because you have a lot of distance athletes that love the cold, enjoy those 40s, and they get those temperatures, especially in the mornings. But then the sprinters as well, who are looking forward to speeding up into the 70s and 80s, they're going to get that by the postseason. It's an early postseason for the outdoor slate, end of April, start of May. Just about 2 months removed from the indoor championships. Every program around America a little bit different in how it operates and the training that goes into it, but you certainly feel like a lot of those themes are pretty similar. And the 10K, as we said, more of a training effort early in the season, trying to get a time that will get you into conference. But for other athletes, especially the unattached ones, just going out trying to use it to post a quick time and ultimately move forward with their distance running goals. Like Max Gregson coming back for Virginia Tech, 5 laps to go. This has been his race for the final mile and a half. Could say a little bit extra as he just entered with 5 laps to go. We'll say final 2 miles, and that was the point that he was really ready to go. So he will move around and have just a mile left. Take this moment to go through our final results. As we said, a lot of them were coming in the final few minutes. The men's pole vault is finalized. Andrew Zaplacki of Kutztown in first, Todd Benhays of Liberty in second, Christian Crowley of Slippery Rock in third. 17-foot mark for Zaplacki of Kutztown to win that, and by a sizable margin. Earlier results, men's javelin belonged to Jackson Hirsch, 68 meters. The women's javelin, Isabella Bartoletti for Slippery Rock, 44. Women's hammer throw is in a delay, so these results are not finalized. Third throws were going through the rotations. Savannah Schneck of Slippery Rock has the lead. Fouled on her first throw and then went 46, 49 meters on the second. Sydney Hale, her teammate from Slippery Rock, is in second with a 45, 18 meter throw. Kenzie Swicegood of Lynchburg, who had herself a stellar indoor season, 42, 68 meter throw for third. That's where it sits right now as they go into their competition and likely resume it tomorrow to get things started. "17-second lead for Max Gregson, as you see on your screen. He's approaching the final kilometer. Takes 10 difficult ones in a race like this. Got to execute. Obviously, it is not easy to start moving quickly when you've settled into a certain pace. Credit to Gregson for making it look rather easy now. About 28:20 with a kilometer to go. Just 2 more remain inside 29 minutes, and Gregson has put together a stellar effort. You got to feel like even though he was in that pack of 8 for a large portion of it, he had confidence. He was ready to go. We had mentioned Garrett Gwynan's name, and obviously if you look at the seed times, you look at the PRs, that was likely the expectation. He leads the chase pack with 2 to go. A pair of Kutztown athletes right now sitting 3rd and 4th, Robbie Lloyd, and paired up with their other teammate, Peyton Small. Waiting for the official results to come through, and some of the splits, every lap looks a little bit different. You do have 25 of them, so obviously as they update, it'll be a little different with each split. Gregson closer and closer the entire way. The bell will sound one final time for day 1 of the Jack Toms Invitational. He has looked smooth the entire way. Blended in with the crowd for the first half of the race and accelerated after. Garrett Gwynan currently occupying 2nd. It is going to be a sprint from that chase pack as they're starting to speed up as well. But Gregson just looks comfortable on an island on that back straightaway. Gwynan speeding up considerably with 300 meters to go. Gregson now making his way into the final 200. He put such a large gap on the field. There aren't many questions asked, even though Garrett Gwynan is soaring down that back straightaway. As you see on your screen, that is going to be a fun battle, but it is going to be a battle for 2nd place. Move is made from Robbie Lloyd to accelerate into 2nd. Here comes Max Gregson in lane 3. Puts together a strong performance. 31-16. And the surge from Robbie Lloyd will bring him into 2nd. Garrett Gwynan lost a little too much steam on that back straightaway. He's going to fall all the way to 4th as it looks like Peyton Small rounds out the podium. 31-27 for Lloyd. We'll wait the rest of it. That was just a performance that, as we said, the 10K is so unpredictable, but it seems to impress time after time. Robbie Lloyd's final lap was a 60-second one, running 4-minute pace, which is incredible to do in the middle of a 10K. Garrett Gwynan ran a 1:06 final lap. So Peyton Small rounds it out 31-32. Lots of these packs, as we discussed earlier, they work together the entire race. Training efforts, qualifying efforts, a little bit of everything, and it has been a very exciting race to round out the Jack Toms Invitational Day 1. The distance side you could really look forward to tomorrow if you're a Sprints fan, because it is a loaded slate. And as final preparations get set, you just feel like something special is going to be in the air. That's what's so special about this track and field landscape as well. A lot of the sprint athletes got their practice done early today and didn't have to worry about anything else, cheering on teammates for the 2nd day. If you've tuned in at any point, big thanks to you. You're on LHSN and Flow College. Blue Ridge Timing will have all your final results. Final finishers make their way around, but again, a reminder for the timing tomorrow. We will get things ready to go at 10:30, the men's 4x1. Event expected to end around 5:05 with the women's 4x4. Full slate of action, and what a fun day that will be, over 6 hours of track action from the Jack Toms Invitational. Of course, the field event side, equally important. It will start at 9 in the morning with the men's hammer throw. Now, there could be an expectation that that women's hammer throw is finished before. We mentioned that it was a weather delay that prolonged it, likely a little bit behind. We'll try to keep you updated as best as possible. Meet information is out there on the Lynchburg Track and Field website as well. Final few trips around the oval. And our men's 10K, and it's won by Max Gregson, 31-16 performance. For several members of the field, the Virginia Tech Running Club that was sticking together the entire time. It's going to be 2 laps to go. Start to see everyone speeding up at this portion of the race. This one being the first of 4 home meets for Lynchburg throughout the year. 1 in each month. Dennis Craddock Coaches Classic always promises to be an exciting one. The Senior Day festivities. Jack Toms always based on the alumni celebrations, and a lot of Hornets have found success in this track and field program. Cool to see those special connections over time. Strong battles down that final straightaway. You see all the results live on the board. Day 1 of the Jack Toms Invitational coming to a close here on LHSN again tomorrow at 10:30. Set to get things underway with the men's 4x1. Going to be an exciting one, and can't wait to keep discussing everything on the sprint side. Big thanks to the entire production crew, all their hard work throughout the day, and our director, Jonas Rush. My name's Evan Gates, saying so long from the Hill City.